Every position in football comes with rules. Quarterbacks stay in the pocket. Running backs hit the gap. Linebackers fill the hole. Receivers run the route as drawn. Structure, discipline, tradition. Because the NFL doesn't like chaos. It evolves slowly. It respects precedent. And for decades, one position in particular came with a very clear blueprint. Prototype size, prototype skill set, prototype behavior. And then he showed up. And the blueprint shattered. Coaches didn't know what to call him, analysts didn't know how to rank him, defenses didn't know how to prepare for him, because he wasn't just good at the position. He redefined what the position even meant. This is the story of the NFL star who didn't just dominate, he changed the position forever. At first, people tried to fit him into the old mold. They always do. He's like this guy. He reminds me of that legend. They'll eventually make him play the traditional way. But comparison fell apart quickly. Because he didn't operate inside the old boundaries. He stretched them, bent them, then broke them. There's a moment early in his career that perfectly captures it. Opening drive. Defense aligned traditionally against that position, expecting the standard approach. Instead, he does something no one at that spot was supposed to do. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently. The defense hesitates. Assignments collapse. Coverage rotations lag. And what should have been routine turns explosive. Commentators scramble for language, because the old vocabulary doesn't work anymore. For decades, this position required a specific trait profile. Maybe it was size, maybe it was arm strength, maybe it was alignment, maybe it was role limitation, but he didn't check all the traditional boxes. In fact, some experts said he lacked the essential qualities. Too small, too mobile, too unconventional, too risky. And yet, every Sunday, the results stacked up. Because sometimes evolution doesn't look traditional. Sometimes it looks disruptive. Defenses tried treating him the old way. Standard coverage, standard rush lanes, standard discipline, and they paid for it. There's one game that changed everything. National broadcast. Division rival. Defense ranked top 3 against his position. First quarter, they stick to their normal scheme. By halftime, they're scrambling. Why? Because he's attacking angles that were never stressed before. He's exploiting responsibilities that were never challenged before. He's forcing defenders to account for dimensions that didn't exist in scouting reports. Suddenly, the old defensive playbook isn't enough. And that's when coordinators started adjusting league-wide. New packages, hybrid defenders, position-specific spies. Rotational schemes built entirely around him. When one player forces 31 other teams to redesign their approach, that's not dominance, that's transformation. There's a play from mid-season that perfectly symbolizes the shift. Third and long. Defense in a look specifically crafted to stop that position type. 4 rushers. Bracket coverage. Safety help over the top. He drops back. Nothing open. Old school players at that position would check down, live for the next play. Instead, he extends. Not recklessly, strategically. Moves defenders with his eyes. Forces a linebacker to step up. Opens a throwing lane that didn't exist a second earlier. Laser. First down. The defense didn't fail. The system failed. Because the system wasn't designed for someone like him. But it wasn't just about play style, it was about perception. Before him, that position had stereotypes, limitations, defined ceilings. He erased them. Suddenly, young athletes playing that position weren't told to conform, they were told to expand. High school coaches adjusted their schemes, college offenses evolved, recruiting priorities shifted. The ripple effect started trickling down. Because once you see something work at the highest level, you replicate it. There's an interview clip where a veteran defender says it plainly. We had to prepare for him differently than anyone we'd ever faced. That's the pivot point, when preparation itself changes. Because now, you're not just studying tendencies, you're studying unpredictability. You're not just watching film, you're searching for patterns that might not exist. And that uncertainty? That's leverage. Mid-career, the numbers became undeniable, records broken, efficiency metrics shattered, situational dominance. But even numbers don't fully explain impact, because some changes aren't statistical, they're philosophical. Coaches stopped saying stay in structure, they started saying be dynamic. Front offices stopped drafting prototypes, they started drafting traits, mobility, versatility, processing speed. Improvisation, the mold cracked. And through that crack, a new archetype emerged. There's a defining moment late in a playoff game that seals it. Season on the line. Defense playing perfectly against the traditional version of the position. He adapts. Audibles. Moves pre-snap. Adjusts protection. Alters route combinations. Snap. Pressure comes exactly as designed. And yet, he dismantles it. Because he isn't playing the position the way it was written, he's playing it the way it's becoming. Touchdown. Stadium erupts. And somewhere across the league, coaches realize the future has arrived. But change is never welcomed immediately. Critics push back. He won't last. Defenses will figure it out. It's not sustainable. Every innovator hears it. Because when tradition gets challenged, it resists. And for a moment, it looked like resistance might win. Injuries, defensive adjustments, film study catching up. For a stretch, production dips. The whispers grow louder. See? The old way works. But evolution doesn't retreat easily. It adapts. And he adapts with it. Because changing a position forever isn't about a hot season. It's about permanence. It's about forcing structural recalibration. And recalibration was happening. Draft boards shifted. Free agency priorities adjusted. Defensive personnel evolved. Analysts stopped debating whether his style could work and started debating how to stop it. That's the difference. But there's one final chapter. One moment that makes it undeniable. One sequence that turns evolution into revolution. And it doesn't just impact a game, it impacts a generation. Change in the NFL doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, reluctantly, through resistance, through doubt, through failure. And then suddenly, through acceptance. By the time he reached his prime, the conversation had shifted. It was no longer, can this style work? It was, how do you build around it? That's when you know something permanent has happened. There's a game late in his career that defines the transition. National spotlight, top-ranked defense, veteran coordinator known for eliminating trends. For 3 quarters, the defense tries to play him traditionally. Rush lanes disciplined, coverage tight, spy assigned. They contain him physically, but something else is happening. The defense is stretched. Horizontally, vertically, mentally. Because even when he's not producing explosive plays, he's stressing the framework. Edge defenders can't crash. Linebackers hesitate before blitzing. Safeties stay deeper than usual. Corners play softer cushions, all because of what he might do, and that might is everything. 4th quarter, tie game, 3rd and 8. Defense shows pressure, he checks at the line, shifts protection, signals motion. The defense adjusts. He reads it instantly. Snap. Blitz comes. He escapes not recklessly but with purpose, forces 2 defenders to commit, stops on a dime, fires across his body. First down. The booth goes quiet for a second. Because that play wasn't just athleticism, it was multi-dimensional execution. 10 years earlier, players at that position weren't trained to do that. Now they are, because of him. That's the ripple effect of evolution. You don't just change how the position is played, you change how it's taught. High school offenses started incorporating concepts built around mobility and improvisation. College programs began recruiting dual-threat athletes as premium prospects instead of conversion projects. NFL front offices recalibrated their draft boards. Traits over tradition, ceiling over conformity. The prototype shifted. There's a clip from a draft broadcast years later. A young prospect is being analyzed, and the comparison is obvious. He reminds me of his name. Not because they play identically, but because the position now includes a new standard, a new expectation, a new possibility. That's how you know someone changed it forever, when future generations are measured against you. But change doesn't come without pushback. Defenses evolved too. They got faster, smaller linebackers with safety speed, hybrid defenders designed specifically to counter his skill set, zone match concepts built to handle extended plays. The league adapted. It always does. And for a moment, critics thought maybe equilibrium had returned. Maybe innovation had been neutralized. Then came the game that silenced that narrative. Conference championship, elite defense, weeks of preparation, media calling it a referendum on the new era. First half, he's contained, limited, nothing flashy. Halftime show debates whether defenses have figured it out. Second half, Revolution. Designed runs out of spread formations. Quick game passing layered with option reads. Play action concepts forcing safeties to freeze. He's not just playing the position differently, he's orchestrating it differently. Touchdown, touchdown, game-sealing drive built on both structure and improvisation. Because the final stage of evolution isn't rebellion, it's integration. He didn't eliminate the old style, he expanded it. That's the nuance. He didn't destroy tradition, he fused it with versatility. Pocket discipline plus mobility. Timing routes plus off-platform throws. Designed runs plus audibles. The position became more complete, more dangerous, more complex, and defenses had no choice but to evolve alongside it. There's a quote from a veteran defensive coordinator that captures it perfectly. You don't stop him, you survive him. That sentiment used to apply to a rare athletic anomaly. Now it applies to the entire archetype he created, because once the blueprint changes, it doesn't revert. Even statistically, the transformation is clear. Yardage milestones redefined. Efficiency ratings recalibrated. Rushing numbers from that position normalized instead of shocking. MVP conversations broadened. Awards criteria shifted. What once seemed unconventional became expected. But beyond numbers, it's the eye test. The visual difference. Plays extending beyond their design. Angles collapsing in space. Defenses frozen by uncertainty. Fans leaning forward every snap. Because the unknown is compelling. And he made every snap unpredictable. Late in his career, the physical dominance naturally declined. Speed tapers, explosiveness softens, but the mental command remained. And that's when you realize something profound. He didn't just rely on athletic advantage, he relied on vision, processing, leadership, control. Because once you change a position's perception, you carry the weight of its future. Young players modeling their game after you, coaches building schemes around your traits, organizations investing millions based on the precedent you set. That's legacy. There's one final regular season game that symbolizes permanence. Rookie quarterback on the opposing sideline. Mobile, creative, confident. Announcers call him the next evolution. Mid-game, cameras cut to him studying the veteran across the field. The originator, the trailblazer. The one who forced the door open. And in that moment, it's clear, the change is complete. Because now there's a lineage. After he retires, the debate shifts from present to historical. Where does he rank? Was he the greatest? Was he the most revolutionary? Numbers are compared, accolades dissected. But one fact isn't debated. The position before him was different. The position after him is different. That's the metric. Every era has innovators, but very few permanently redefine a role. The forward pass changed football. West Coast offense changed passing structure. Spread concepts changed spacing. And he changed identity. He expanded what coaches believed was possible. He expanded what scouts believed was sustainable. He expanded what players believed they could be. The final truth is simple. You can win games, you can win championships, you can win awards. But to change a position forever, you have to change imagination. Because before evolution happens on the field, it happens in minds. Coaches have to imagine it, players have to believe it, front offices have to commit to it. He forced that imagination, forced that belief, forced that commitment. There are great players who dominate their era, and then there are players who alter the sport's trajectory. When future stars enter the league carrying his traits, when defenses design schemes accounting for skills he normalized, when commentators describe a new prospect as built for the modern game, that modern game traces back to him. He didn't just succeed at the position, he expanded it. He didn't just break records, he broke assumptions. He didn't just win games, he shifted philosophy. And once philosophy shifts, it never fully returns. Years from now, when young fans watch highlights from this era, they won't realize how radical it once felt. They'll think it was always this way. That's the ultimate sign of permanent change. When revolution becomes routine. When innovation becomes expectation. When transformation becomes tradition. Some stars shine brightly, some stars dominate briefly, and some stars rewrite the blueprint entirely. He was one of those, the NFL star who didn't just play the position, he changed it forever.